Our second speaker is Jarsonbeck. I've known Lane since he first joined Toastmasters in 2016. He has written well over 100 speeches, only 8 of which have been under 7 minutes. I'm not sure that I heard any of those. In January 2023, he began working on new speech about the direction of Toastmasters, segue 2 weeks later. On February 11th of this year, Lane was at the Toastmasters gathering at the Sheraton Hotel, where our guest of honor, Matt Kinsey, spoke live and in person. Lane was impressed and had considered discussing the direction of Toastmasters with Matt at that time, but it was a social event. Lane thought it appropriate and mingled elsewhere. Fast forward to tonight, in which Matt Kinsey volunteered to join us. Matt, Lane wants you to know this is strictly serendipitous. It was not meant as an ambush. He just thought he would take this opportunity to give his speech. And so welcome, Jarsonbeck.
There are thousands of books and songs that warn the human race against technology without philosophy and the dangers of blindly accepting the progress of industry. For over 50 years, I have been increasingly haunted by 2 such works. The first is a monologue from the courtroom drama Inherit the Wind, in which defense attorney Henry Drummond lectures that progress is never a bargain, that there is always a price to be paid, and then uses the example of the convenience of the telephone and how it has led to our invasion of privacy. Though the playwrights Jerome Lawrence and Bob Lee have long since been deceased, I still imagine meeting them and telling them, telephone, guys, you have no idea, as I go on to explain the internet. Yes, 30 years ago, when I and you and the rest of the free world gladly accepted the World Wide Web into our homes and our businesses, and today, even our personal phone calls. Now, don't get me wrong. The internet the concept is marvelous, but the reality, who here has gone online shopping, maybe getting a birthday present, only to be inundated the next month and a half with pop-up ads for that exact same item? Exactly, and that's when the honeymoon ended for me. The World Wide Web has become a technological nightmare that, like most webs, we can't seem to untangle ourselves from. Our loss of privacy and the slow erosion of our self-reliance. Because there was a day when people would actually go to their album collection or their CD collection and take the album and put it on the player. And then the iPod came along and they turned our stroll into scroll. Until today, hey Siri, play some Barry Manilow. Exhausted. But wait, it gets worse. Recently, AI engineers have released 2 robotic programs, Yoodli and GPT-3. GPT-3 will write your speech for you, while Yoodli promises to evaluate it. These are the robotic programs. These are the technology without philosophy that we were warned of. And sadly, Toastmasters International has been promoting Yoodli on the TI website for months. These gimmicks imply that, hey, if I have one robot write me a speech and another robot evaluate it, all I need is a robot timer and I can be my own Toastmasters club. I can almost assure you this is not what Ralph Smedley had in mind. These techno toys have nothing to do with Toastmasters and do not create the leaders of tomorrow. Taken to their inevitable conclusions, these programs ultimately destroy creativity, individuality, and our ability to think, choose, and reason for ourselves. If I have a machine telling me what to say and how to say it, I am not a Toastmaster. I'm a plagiarizing parrot. And this technological nightmare leads me to that second lyrical poem that has haunted me for over 50 years. The Zager and Evans song in the year 2525, as I paraphrase. Your arms and legs got nothing to do. Some machine's doing that for you. Everything you think today is what that machine told you to say. Now I know what you're thinking. Lane needs therapy. Sir, you are clinically paranoid. Lane, don't you get it? Just look at the names. They aren't dangerous, they're delightful. Well, you may be onto something. GPT-3 does sound like R2-D2 or maybe C-3PO, and Yoodli, it's just such a silly name. On the other hand, Bram Stoker could have renamed Count Dracula Mr. Boo-Boo Nibbleneck, but it didn't make him any less of a blood-sucking parasite. Wayne, you're just not getting it. These programs are made to turn our 21st century busy lives into a more convenient lifestyle. They are modern conveniences. Well, you may be onto something. They are modern conveniences, the inner workings of which nobody understands. They are electric signals that run through logarithms. That means they are only as good as the information entered and the information allowed to be entered. And while this sounds increasingly paranoid, may I point out, there have been governments that have dictated the flow of information to their countries since the beginning. And we have, for years, had media platforms such as Facebook and Twitter, which have used logarithms to censor topics, phrases, and even words. And they've used those same algorithms to remove the opinions of other people and with differing ideology and eliminated the accounts of those who refuse to comply. Now, let's just say I'm plain wrong. Let's say we live in a world where supervillains don't exist and international tech corporations don't influence our politicians. The only good thing I can think of to say about GPT-3 and Yoodli is they are gimmicks and techno toys. Do you know why Toastmasters is better than a techno toy? Because Toastmasters can conduct a meeting even if the power goes out. What we can be sure of, all of us, is that when our founder, Ralph Smedley, envisioned Toastmasters, the dream was then founded upon the idea of like-minded people meeting in an environment of trust and mentorship, a brotherhood and volunteer partnership, working together with the goal being the betterment of every member through the opinions and ideas of every other member. And taking that confidence and that communication style and becoming the better leaders of the world. He didn't need gimmicks. He gave us roles, he gave us goals, and he gave us the cohesiveness of teamwork. GPT-3 and Yoodli are gimmicks that mimic but can never mentor. They can't conceive of love, they can't conceive humor nor pain. Neither can they tell you or understand how a particular event in your life has affected your reasoning or your emotions. They are a one-size-fits-all platform, and they are devoid of human contact. That same human contact, empathy, sympathy, camaraderie, the camaraderie we look forward to at every Toastmasters meeting. Therefore, it is not Toastmasters that needs an upgrade. It is we, the Toastmasters, the super communicators of the world, who need to continuously remind the rest of the world that the illumination of their futures is not found in the glowing faces of Androids or iPhones or computer screens. We need to make a deliberate, repetitive reminder that Toastmasters has unlocked the potential of every one of our 5 million members over the last 100 years, through not through monitors, but through mentors. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. You mean I'll be evaluating Lane's speech, right?
Correct. Lane's speech.
Okay.
Andy, I'm sorry. Well, you could do Zane's as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Lane, your speech gave me a lot to think about and a lot to reflect on. What I like about your speeches in general is that you always grab my attention and you keep me concentrating over and over again. You always get me back on track. So you're super talented in this area. So props to you on that. You started your speech taking us through the evolution of technology, which is something that all of us can relate to. We've all been seeing how the world transitioned from the iPod to the iPhone to AI to the metaverse, and we really don't know where this is going. It's both scary and exciting at the same time, but based on your speech, it was more scary than exciting. And I like how you mentioned that all of this is really affecting us in so many ways. I like how you showed the gesture of laying down and saying, "Hey Siri," because I don't know where this is going. Oh, actually, while saying that, I'm not sure if you can still hear me or not, but my computer, Siri just said something. She was like, "Yeah, I'm here." But I also like we really don't know where this is going, like I mentioned, and it's getting us more lazy, and people are not taking advantage of technology in the proper way. We're taking advantage of it in a way that's keeping us down, in a way that's making us less knowledgeable. And of course, there are so many negative consequences that we'll be dealing with moving forward. You mentioned also how people are having AI such as ChatGPT or the other one, I'm not sure what it was called, Yoodli, to write their speeches for Toastmasters, and how it is really making us less creative overall. And I would like to say that there could be positive impacts from these platforms if used appropriately. So for example, ChatGPT, it can be a good resource if one takes advantage of it as a research tool, for example, instead of a way to do everything for you, such as Google. Google can help you just generate more information in regards to something that you're researching on a day-to-day basis. So if people use it in that sort of way, it could be beneficial. And I like how you made your speech serious, as well as you added a little fun by adding some giggles throughout your speech, which was a good way to keep us engaged. Like I mentioned at the beginning of my evaluation, you're always keeping us on the loop and keeping us to just continuously learn from your speech. You used great eye contact overall, very good gestures, and you the reason I think sometimes you go over time is because you speak from the heart, and I see that in you. Sometimes maybe you add parts of your speech while you're talking. So I think that could be a reason why you're getting over time. But overall, just one thing I would have liked to hear is what is the solution and what action we should take from our end. But other than that, great job on your speech overall. Thank you.